Hello everyone, and welcome to Shannonville Motorsport Park for one of the first nice days of motorcycle activity in 2019.
And don't we deserve it, Colin? We've had a lot of rain in this region lately, but on this day we have perfect weather for the first round of 2019, presented by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Also brought to you by Liqui Moly, Drift, and Mopar Express Lane.
And our grid's lining up here for the first of our national events of 2019 at Shannonville Motorsport Park. This has become sort of the traditional start of the season, and we have a good solid entry for a class that was not in great shape a few years ago, but definitely rebounded.
This weekend's starting lights sponsored by the West City Power Sports Honda dealer. They've been with us. This is the third year in a row now that West City Power Sports has been with us, and all the riders, when they reform on the grid column, will be looking at those lights. When those lights go off, we're going to open the first page of the history book of 2019 Mopar CSBK.
The first bike to drive off the cold grid for the warm-up lap, that was Elliot Vieira, who's been around the series for a couple of years. No luck whatsoever. Hardly done any of the rounds. He's a Guyanese front runner, and he made it to the front row, so definitely one of the stories, and someone who no one was really expecting. A lot of wasn't even sure he'd be here. Yeah,
fourth fastest qualifier. He was just outside the 106 mark, where our three fastest qualifiers, Casas, Tremblay, and Hornblower, were able to record very low times there. But Vieira, yeah, he's got a much better start to the season this year than we've seen in the last couple of years.
Worth mentioning, pole position on row 2, Samuel Desmarais, last year's Brooklyn Cycle Racing Pro Rookie of the Year, and he's on that long march to the front, and he seems to be well on his way. That's about where you'd want to be starting your second pro season, and he's just at that point where the front runners are a target.
The Quebec region, La Belle Province, continues to provide great riders. Sebastien Tremblay, of course, has been with us for years, but we've got a young lad out of Quebec by the name of Nicolas Mounier, who we'll be watching for as well. But Desmarais most definitely taking that Brooklyn Cycle Pro Rookie of the Year award last year, and he's still got great momentum, obviously qualifying in 5th position.
And it's time to talk about our reigning double champ TV, Tommy Kazaz, and he we had a good shot from our final corner camera. He decided he had to win the warm-up lap, so he passed a couple of people. You can see him on that blue Yamaha, #1. This is his second season with the #1 plate. He's looking to three-peat, and of course this is the kind of territory that normally only Jordan Zoke occupies.
Yeah. Also this weekend he'll be mounted on a Superbike race later on, but let's concentrate on our sport bike. That's the one he's got the #1 plate on, and he most certainly wants it back again. I know Parts Canada is very keen on that. And
so we're under starters orders. We can see that last red flag leaving the grid. The staff are all clear to watch for jump starts, and now everybody's looking at our starter Chris Chappell and those start lights.
West City Power Sports lights coming on. When those lights go off, the field will launch. Lights are off, the field is away and running.
Looks like a good clean start for everybody.
Tommy's
and there's
got it.
Kazaz coming from the outside. Great on board with Elliot Vieira on that Yamaha. We can see he did not get a very good start.
Disastrous. In behind Mike Raniowski right now, the 725 rider. Now they steam out of turn 2, make their way up to 3. Raniowski really tight on 2 as we come in through turn number 3 on this layout. And Sebastien Tremblay, the shaker, is right in behind our champion Casas.
And this is what most of last season looked like for Thomas Kazaz. He is seriously in the lead. And honestly, the top 3 are exactly what we expected. Maybe not in this order, but certainly those are the 3 who've been the pace setters. Of course, 2 of these guys have won nationals. Hornblower has not yet, and he's way overdue. Been so close so many times.
Top 3 guys in the 106 mark. I think that was David McKay running back in 4th spot on the Mac Attack Racing Kawasaki ZX6R. And now steaming down into Allen's Corner on this, the first lap. Sebastien Tremblay right in behind. We were on board with Will Hornblower there for just a moment. And top 3 riders are starting to get some distance already, Colin.
And McKay in that 4th, and we were talking about people climbing the ladder. McKay has started to become a guy who's aiming for the podium. He's made some big steps. He will definitely be a rival of Desmarais. Now look at this on board with Elliott. Whoa. See if this works. He tried the way wide in 1 and blocked it out in 2. And so Vieira, who got that terrible start, has now marched his way into a decent position, probably near where he should have been.
The kid's got his work cut out for him, that's a certainty. On board now with the shaker, Sebastien Tremblay on the Kawasaki. He is chasing the Yamaha of Tommy Casas, runs once more, out onto the Fabi straight.
And we wonder, can Hornblower hang in? typically we have seen him at most tracks be able to run the lead pace. Look at
There
this.
we go. Shaker's taking the lead. Beautiful pass. Somewhat unexpected. That's kind of unusual to see a pass on the right-hand side on Fabi approaching 11, but the Shaker has taken the race
Well, we
lead.
go on board with that very potent Kawasaki of Tremblay, and he pulls out early, so I don't think Kazaz got the drive. Now watch what happens here, Frank. Normally you just drive straight. He is so confident that he has the performance edge. He works his way back over to the left, picks up the line, and I'm sure this was on board with Kazaz, who's already cheating to the middle. Tremblay goes around the inside and then goes back and actually picks up the accurate line. So that's unusual this early, and I'm sure both those guys will have learned from what they just saw.
I was just going to say Tommy would be putting that note in his book. Sitting back still in fourth spot is David McKay. We have Louis Rafa holding on to fifth just now as we pick up on our race leaders. We're on board right now, that Yamaha R6 of Tommy Kazas, and we're following the Shaker up towards the hairpin. Here we go.
Kawasaki, Hondas, and lots of Yamahas near the front in our Liqui Moly Pro Sport bike, but that's a ZX6R Ninja in the lead, and Tremblay has put a ton of effort in over the winter to try and get that bike to the point where he believes he can win all the time. He has been a front runner when he rejoined this class last year, had a little bad luck, crashed at Shannonville when he really needed the points exactly a year ago, but otherwise was certainly in the hunt throughout the season.
Yeah, and the high point, of course, him taking that win at Shubenacadie, Nova Scotia at Atlantic Motorsport Park. And of course, then the terrible bad luck that he had at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. On board with Elliot Vieira just for a moment there as he continues his march to try to catch back up.
Onto the front. Yeah, really good view of here we go on board with the drift camera, Vieira once again, and that's, I believe, Demaray right in front of him, so he's back to where he should be. But wow, he goes with that outside-inside move, which seems to be working for him in two, and the other guys should pay attention because that is an unusual pass, and it worked. You could just see in the background, he picked off another position.
Outside line going into turn one gives you the inside going into two. That's the math on that one, I think.
Yeah, and the drift cameras here where we're going back and forth between the three leaders, all of them have drift cameras, really give you a sense of what you're looking at, what you're trying to evaluate. And here we are on the back straight, and I believe we're back on board with Kazas, and he's, you remember this is a wide angle lens, so he's not that far behind Tremblay, and I think now we can say Hornblower isn't going to get scrubbed off. If anything, he's pacing himself. And of course, the guy in third who's not taking risks is frequently the guy who has the most tire at the end of the race.
Quite so, but he's also the guy who's had the least saddle time. We don't see Hornblower near often enough, in my opinion. He's a great rider who makes sporadic returns to Mopar CSBK Liqui Moly Sport Bike.
Well, his last year of his racing career, he's got a really great on board going by the pit wall there. Going back to the Hornblower story, his father, who was a very successful racer, had a terrible mountain bike accident and has been recovering for this past year. So Hornblower has definitely been distracted by that, but his father, Bill, has been here and seems to be doing very, very well.
Yeah, Hornblower is content to sit back in third spot. That was obvious in that run between 1 and 2. He is definitely pacing himself, waiting for an opportunity.
Now we watch right here, Frank, as we tee it up very slow, coming onto the back straight, but getting the launch, getting the thing lined up, getting the drive, and here we are in Vieira. He's doing that same thing, and look at where he is. He's up to Rafa's Honda.
Wow.
So although he got one of the worst starts we've ever seen, he has really done a remarkable job of moving up through the field on that Snow City Yamaha.
Good job for Vieira. The guy needs the champion, as we mentioned. I think he only made one appearance, as a matter of fact, 3 years ago, and then we saw him a couple of times last year. But the intent is that he's going to be with the Mopar CSBK series for the entire series this year.
And that's an ex-Kazas Yamaha, so we know it's a potent machine. And speaking of current Kazas Yamahas, he is definitely back to looking more aggressively with Tremblay. We're not quite at halfway, and here we are on board with Vieira, working everything he can to try and get by that very fast company-powered Honda of Louis Rafa. And Rafa a little tight there, a little risky on one, and look at Vieira.
Here he goes. He's on the move now. He has taken over that position from Rafa. Now we're looking at our race leaders once more as those three continue to go at it. But Vieira is definitely a story of this race.
And if you're thinking to yourself, you know, Sebastian Tremblay looks pretty smooth, that is definitely the take on Tremblay. Even when he's pushing really hard, he hardly ever has a wheel out of line, kind of like a Ben Young type guy. And because of that, his speed is deceptive. But when you look at the lap times, you know, and he's been fast on our sport bikes, and he's at times been very fast. He's been a podium guy in Superbike. So Tremblay, the Shaker, a guy with a ton of time, helps out a lot of other guys in the pit lane, a popular member of the paddock.
On board now with Will Hornblower, and he is right on the back end of Tommy Kazas. I thought he might make a move there, but he's, again, content.
As we like to say, they're closer together now than they were on the grid, right? So these laps, all they've done is put some time on the tires and certainly haven't determined anything in terms of potential outcome. And what is interesting is that Kazas seems to be okay with second. Of course, when we get to halfway in the race, can be official. That's going to change things. But if anything, Tremblay looks happy leading, and Kazas seems happy in second, and Hornblower's just observing.
A little bit of shopping there, I think, coming into turn number 3 there. He had a good close look at the inside of that turn. Decided not to do anything about it at this point in time. But as you can see, this has become a 3-horse race. These guys are running away with this thing.
This point in the race, you want to be looking all the time, just in case the guy in front makes a small mistake. You can see Kazaz going way offline, just looking inside, see what Tremblay's up to. Doesn't look like anybody's very vulnerable off the back straight. Their bikes are similarly fast, although I think maybe Tremblay has a slight edge. However, having said that, these 3 guys and their 3 bikes are very evenly matched.
Indeed. Tremblay has been enjoying the support of Turcotte Performance now into their 10th year this year, and that has bode out very, very well for him. He's so calm, cool, and collected and perfect in his riding. You remember him standing on the podium after winning the race at Shubenacadie, Nova Scotia, and it was just like, yeah, okay, I won. What's next?
Back on board with Vieira, and he continues his march from that crummy start on that Snow City Yamaha, and now I think that's McKay, maybe? He's close there.
Yeah. David McKay on the Kawasaki ZX6R on board right now with Tommy Kazas on the Yamaha as we head up once more through turn 9. He'll stand it up very briefly and then flip it over to the right-hand side to get lined up for that Fabi straightaway. Now, Tommy should be sitting right in behind. Oh, he's doing it this time. Last time down, as you know, he swung way to the right there and missed out on getting a toe, and he's doing it again now.
Well, I think the issue is, are you really trying to pass, or are you just trying to have a good look at what the other guy's doing? Because sometimes going offline shows you some things, and of course you can see around the guy in front. But I'm getting to the point where I feel like Kazas' sponsors should be on the back of Tremblay's bike, because the view we're getting from Tommy is pretty much all Tremblay, and it's a great view. Don't get me wrong; it's a remarkable thing to go on board with these drift cameras and to see pretty much what the riders see and get a feel for how quickly things happen. And this run through turn 1 is such a fantastic example. And of course, we've been on board with Vieira, who's pulled off some passes that we've never seen before, and definitely he's learned. A guy with no Shannonville experience has figured out something no one else knows. And look at that!
He's starting to build his confidence, and Tommy Kazas had a really close look there. I think he's got a plan. I think Tommy wants to go to the front of this race, which kind of surprises me, Colin. I thought, coming into this year, he's obviously looking for a 3-peat, as you mentioned, and points are so very important. You think he'd be content just to sit back there and take the points.
Well, there's a lot of good stories here. Tremblay and Kazas are both good stories, and you mentioned Turcotte, Tremblay's big sponsor. It seems like if you see a good-looking Kawasaki in the paddock, it probably says Turcotte on it, so yeah. That there's a lot of good support there, particularly amongst our top French-Canadian guys. Mm-hmm. But having said all of that, what's interesting too is Tremblay and Kazas are both mounting serious Superbike campaigns this year, and normally no one's had the resources to support 2 different bikes and the tires and everything that's involved. So
on the move with, oh no, Vieira just about got McKay. McKay slammed the door on him. That was nice.
Well, McKay, I'm sure by now knows he's there, and as you march forward and start getting to where you should have been if you'd had a good start, it gets a lot harder to pass these guys. They're faster.
McKay scoring a podium finish at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park to end up his season last year, and that's given him that often repeated inner fire coming into the 2019 season. He's riding very well and qualified very well.
And next up is Grand Bend, where McKay has run at the front and have no good luck at all, yes. But I'm sure that their team is focused on Grand Bend. Hornblower, we're on board with him now. Grand Bend also his home track. So we've got 2 guys in the top 4 who definitely in their mind are heading to the next round expecting a really top performance. And I think Tremblay was pretty good at Grand Bend last year, but it was probably his weakest effort, not including the crash here at Shannonville at the opener.
Home track is definitely an advantage, and also the folks at trackside, the extra player on the ice is what they refer to it in hockey. Having those fans there, the family, what have you, huge morale booster for a rider coming into round 2.
Heading on to the front straight, and as we've talked about it, we're past halfway. Mm-hmm. Very little to choose amongst our front runners, and I'm expecting things are going to start heating up because everybody's been watching. All of these guys know what's possible. Tremblay less than the others.
Casas looks to the inside of Tremblay, and Tommy Casas has taken the race lead. Nice pass, well executed.
Yeah, that entry to 3 is one of the spots if you get everything right at turn 2. And here we go to the hairpin, and this is going to be the first time Casas has been at the front in a while. And now we're going to see what Tremblay's bike is capable of. Here's the replay, and what a move. The key to this is Casas, we're on board with him now. Now we go on board with Tremblay. There's Tom completing the pass. Is he got the drive, went wide in turn 2, lined it up. It's bumpy, but there is a pass if you're careful and smart. And also Tremblay didn't fight back, right? He knows it's early. It's not necessary to take the gloves off just yet. But it is bound to get hot between these two, and we're expecting a season of very close racing. The preseason suggested these guys continue to be the guys to beat in Liqui Moly Pro Sport Bike.
Well, Tommy's pass there, you could see he was clearly passed before Sebastian actually chipped it in, so it wasn't a case of, he was showing a wheel and he had to stand it up or anything like that. It was very well done.
No, it's not always easy to finish it in turn 3, and we've seen some drama because of that. And now Tremblay's getting a look at what the Casas plan is, and the pace is picking up at the front. Of course, the guys know what the track's like. The tires are warm and happy. These are Dunlop slicks now in the Pro Sport Bike class. We moved to the slick last year, and some updates. So the guys, of course, this is one of the first days of decent weather, so they're learning about those tires. And here we're coming to well, you can see Casas has decided to walk us all the way to the right side of the back straight.
Yeah, and Sebastian got right in behind him that time, making sure that he wasn't losing anything, getting a bit of a toe, having that, what I often refer to as that soft air in back of the rider in front.
Back on board with the Tremblay Kawasaki, which I'm not sure what the sticker is, but it looks like a smiling face in the corner of the bodywork there.
That's Gulf, actually.
And he's looking for a way to get back in front. And of course, at this point, if there were to be some kind of an issue at the front and there was a stoppage, they might call the race complete. So at this point, you need to lead every lap if you possibly can. There's just so much risk if there's some kind of an incident. We
mentioned stickers. You talked about having the Tommy's sticker on the back of Sebastian, and the sticker you referred to that's on the side of Sebastian's Kawasaki, the Gulf sticker. The riders should pay close attention to the footage that we present and place those stickers appropriately.
Yeah, Jordan Zoke certainly knows where the cameras
Doesn't
shoot.
He though?
But of course, this is the first race of the year, so there's a little bit of a learning process with your new body work and your new camera placement and all that. But of course, now the camera placement is showing us exactly what it's like to slipstream into the lead of a Liqui Moly Pro National at Shannonville. Now we go on board with Casas, and looks like we're playing chicken on the brakes.
Down into turn 11, that is, as you well know, a very heavy braking zone, but it's also a very fast corner.
Yeah, here you can see Tommy starting to use more of the track, and I think that that glimpse of Tremblay he just saw, probably a big motivator. And of course, if this race were to go official, this is another lap that Casas has led. TV Tommy doing what you need to do to make sure you get the most points possible.
Yeah, he got maximum points out of qualifying, so yeah, if he can stack some laps up in here and add to that.
And laps led will be interesting, because I think Tremblay would be ahead right now, but that could be changing shortly.
Down into turn 3 once more. Will Hornblower very much a part of it. He looked like he was going to stab one right up in between those two riders. Of course, the distance there made that impossible, but Hornblower, he is right where he wants to be.
On the brakes into the slowest part of the track. Now we launch onto the back straight. And of course, the goal here is to be as tidy as possible. Don't spin the tire. Don't be aggressive. And there you can see Tremblay driving almost in the middle of the track, trying Casas to see if there's a pass.
And it looked like he had the pass made from our last camera shot there, but not so. My goodness, that was close coming in through 11. Tommy Casas' back wheel just about touching Sebastian Tremblay's front.
Second lap in a row, we're on the back straight. These two guys have played chicken, and I think Casas maybe isn't confident that he has the horsepower, so he's changing things up. The only risk is Tremblay's learning all the time too, and if Tremblay does have a slight power edge in that spot of the track, he has now seen that Casas is worried about that.
And with Hornblower being so patient, we spend so much time talking about Tommy and Sebastian, and rightfully so. We've seen several passes here, but you got to tip a hat to Hornblower for his patience sitting in that position. I keep thinking that if he can get a drag down the Fabi straightaway, that he could pass both these guys.
And that Hornblower shot from the drift camera on his Yamaha is just fantastic. He's so close to Tremblay. It really gives you a sense of what you're doing. And here Tremblay,
oh man. Wow, what a pass. What a pass. We're going to have another look at that, I trust, but we're on the back straightaway now. Tommy Casas right in the wheel tracks of Sebastian Tremblay, and we can see that clearly because we're riding along with Will Hornblower on the 47 Yamaha in through turn 11 as we get into the...
Here we go on board. So this is Tremblay, and this is... I'm going. I'm committed to the move. I'm going to square it up on the brakes. Casas doesn't do anything crazy, and you can see Tremblay's a little bit wide and does slightly take the drive away from Tommy. Now, I was watching Hornblower doing the math in reverse, and my focus, I thought Hornblower had a move here, and he was going to start hit, and he probably got the best drive of anyone because these two slowed each other up. And of course, this is how the math can go, right? If you're in the right place at the right time, looking for something different. And yeah, this Hornblower shot we're with now totally demonstrates how he actually got the corner that time.
Gotta love those drift cameras, man, right into your living room. Beautiful stuff. Lap 16 is what we're working right now. Tommy Casas, the champion on the #1 bike, running in second spot behind the shaker Sebastian Tremblay, with Will Hornblower still holding on to third spot, and there's nobody else in this conversation, but we are coming up on traffic.
And we're on board with Hornblower. That time Casas didn't try anything. He's not looking around, and it doesn't look like anybody has an edge on power, although Tremblay just seems to be a little quicker at the end of the straight there, and by now Hornblower and Casas would know that, so that's going to make that last lap, whatever it is we're expecting, be a lot more complicated if you're not on a Kawasaki and your name's Tremblay.
My observations of Will Hornblower going into turn 11 and then coming out of 11 is that he's using every bit of the racetrack, Colin, perhaps more than Sebastian Tremblay and Tommy Casas.
Well, you know, all of these guys are fairly smooth. When you really crank it up, it's maybe Hornblower who would be most willing to get his elbows out, but we'll see if he can get into the conversation. And here we have a bunch of traffic, so this makes things complicated. Of course, you're distracted right now because you've got multiple things, and Tremblay's the one under pressure because he has to make the move first.
We've got some fast riders up there they have to deal with as well. Oh, wow, no! Down goes Casas and Sebastian Tremblay. Tommy Casas into the side of the shaker.
On board here, and we have a good look from Hornblower's Yamaha. And watch here, we're distracted by the lapped rider up ahead. Casas says, this is my chance. I'm going to go up the inside on the brakes. But right here, he realizes he doesn't have it made. He gets into the side of Tremblay. And what's incredible is Tremblay, and here you can see it from on board the leading Kawasaki, Tremblay actually, watch here, winds up on top of Casas's bike as they both go into the boonies there. You can see Tremblay getting spit off the Yamaha. That's the second bike he's ridden so far today. And actually, Tremblay's bike doesn't seem to take too much of a hit. And now we're, well, this is a crazy situation. We now have a runaway leader, Frank.
Danny Arrett on the 174. There's Chris Fair on the 270. And our race leader now is the number 47 bike of Will Hornblower. We're going for a ride with him, Colin, and he has the race lead. He may well be on his way to victory here in the first race of 2019 in the Liqui Moly Pro Sport Bike class. We're watching him now through Allen's.
And you can see that yellow flag warning that there's still some people on the side of the track. You can see, there you can see that's Casas. And of course, Hornblower would have seen all that, would have understood what Casas was trying, probably had a notion it was going to go badly, maybe not that badly, but now it's a runaway win for a guy who's been in the catbird seat before and had his own problems. And I think, you know, the general view of the paddock is no one deserves a break more than Will Hornblower.
Absolutely. We saw him when he should have won down at Shubenacadie, Nova Scotia, and had a suspension pack up on him. But this time it looks like he's bringing it home. There's just a few corners left. He gets past Danny Arrett quickly on the Triumph, leans it over into Allen's. Once more into 14 and onto the front straightaway, and the checkered flag should be awaiting Will Hornblower, and you can see the smile on his face from here.
Yeah, I'm sure he's still trying to process that, you know, he was trying to cook up something, wondering how he could get 2 spots on the last lap. Well, he didn't have to do anything, and you know, 2 of our favorites are definitely way behind in points. It'll make for an interesting 2019. There you can see McKay gets elevated to second.
And Samuel Desmarais in his sophomore year puts it on the podium. Congratulations to him.
And if you told Vieira at the start of the race he could have been 4th, he'd have been thrilled, and he worked hard to get that one.
He did. Yeah,
you can see the rest of the front runners, and quite a variety of machineries. You can see the fastest laps indicating the relative pace of everybody. But you know, Tremblay had a bad time at Shannonville a year ago, and it's continued this. Now let's head down to the podium with Frank.
I'm so happy for my first podium in Pro Sport Bike. I can't believe I'm there. It's amazing. It's sad for Sebastian and Thomas who crashed in the few last lap, but I'll take it. And my goal this year is to be consistent and grab points for the championship and hope to get the #1 plate.
Ladies and gentlemen, your third place finisher, Samuel Desmarais.
Last year we started well and we had a strong season, and I want to start this year even better and just keep going up from here.
Congratulations, you made a lot of people very happy. David McKay in second spot.
I feel like it's been a long time coming. I've had a lot of good opportunities in the past 6 pro years, so it's been a bit of slogging and a couple of big mistakes on my end, and it's just unbelievable.
Bet you're glad your dad was here to see this one, huh?
No, it's absolutely amazing. Most people know, but a year ago my dad was quadriplegic, so for him to be standing here, cheering me on, helping me out all weekend is just, I couldn't be more thankful.
Ladies and gentlemen, your podium once more. Samuel Desmarais in third spot, David McKay in second, and top of the box, Will Hornblower. Well, that wraps up round 1 of the 2019 Mopar Canadian National Superbike Championship race from Shannonville Motorsport Park. We'll look forward to broadcasting to you from Grand Bend Motorplex for round 2, coming up next. This round presented by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers of Canada, Liqui Moly, Drift, and Mopar Express Lane.